today. We're working with line. So when you draw, your pencil can make a dot, but as soon as you draw, right, now you've made a line. So we're going to work with some lines, different kinds of lines. Okay, so of course it's getting warm, and sometimes when it's warm, I actually like to visit the beach. Let's see if my camera can catch all of it. So we've got a towel, right? We need a towel when we're at the beach. And maybe an umbrella to shade us from the sun. And in the background, you might have waves crashing. So we're gonna work on drawing the basic shapes. So like the umbrella and the sun, and then the sand with the beach towel. But then we'll work on the details after that. So all these lines, different types of lines, we will do those after we draw the big shapes, okay? Okay, so here. So we're gonna start here. So not very much further up on the paper. And we're gonna make kind of a big, almost like a little mountain or like a rolling hill. So see, it just kind of curved a little bit. And if you want, because we're talking about lines, you can make your line really thin, or if you'd like, you could also make it a little thicker because there are different types of lines. So like this is going to be a really thick line. Okay, and then once we've got our line, we want to move on to the next big shape, which is going to be the blanket. And the blanket, all I did is I just made it be a rectangle. So I made my longer line first, and then I made my other long line, and it is the same direction. So if you see they're kind of in the same direction, they're parallel to each other. And then we're going to connect the ends. So I've kind of connected the ends of our beach blanket. And then we're going to move up, and we want our umbrella to kind of shade us. So what I did first is I drew the pole of the umbrella first. So if you look, it's kind of, there's the top of the paper. So it's kind of like in the middle. It stops kind of at the middle of the paper. And then I drew a big arc, which is going to be the top of the umbrella. And then if you look at, you know, any types of umbrellas, they open and they always have little points. I'm going to do a few of these points. No, it just kind of looks like how when we see umbrellas, they've got those little points that help keep the umbrella open. And I'm going to divide this into 3 sections. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start up at the top. And I'm going to draw a line from, so 1, and then another one going this way. So now we kind of have like a triangle shape in the middle. 3 sections. So we've got 3 sections. All right, and then we want to shade ourselves. We've got the umbrella, so we need to shade ourselves from the sun. So we're just doing a nice big circle. And then we're going to add all of our little points. So sometimes we like to make points for our sun. Sometimes people like to make wavy lines. And you can do as many of these long triangles or long pointed triangles as you'd like. So I'm just going to add a bunch. Got some here. Maybe I'll add one more here. So lots of points around our sun, lots of sun rays. The biggest shape we have left is the wave, this ocean wave. And I started making it by just drawing like a backwards C. So these are all backwards C's. So we're going to start with those. So what I did is I kind of started, if you look, so it's going to kind of be across in this direction. So I started with one, and then I made another one. So see, they're just connecting and they're little backward C's. And I'm going to make another one. And then you have this little end right here. It's kind of blank. I just made it go off the paper. Now we need to make them look like they're thicker, like they're a wave. Because right now they look really thin because we just have a line. So we're going to meet here, but we're going to follow that same shape of the backward C. So see, we just followed it like that. We're going to do the same line for each one. There's another one. And then another one. And then we've got one more. But those are like my little wave drawings. And I drew thin lines. I want my waves to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to draw back over the line to make it a little bit thicker. Sometimes we like to have different types of lines in our drawing. Got all these different types of lines. Okay, so these are just the basics. Now we haven't done all the details yet. Now we're going to add all those details we talked about. So we're going to do some different types of lines. And so this line, it's going to be a little bit kind of, you know, angular, almost reminding me like you're going to make a square, except for you don't. You just keep going around. Or kind of maybe looks like a snail shell. So that is one different type of line. So if we move down to our umbrella, sometimes we make lines that cross each other, and you can make kind of like when you see like a picnic tablecloth, you know, you've got those checkerboard pattern. So that's a different type of line and pattern, and you can also always make those lines thicker if you like. So I might go ahead and make these ones a little bit thicker. You can do whatever type line you want. I'm going to actually shade those in. So I've got some thick lines in this section. All right. And then my final one, this time I'm going to make some little wavy lines. And these lines kind of remind me of like Top Ramen. You know how they got those little waves? So I'm going to make a little wavy line. You can fill those in. Maybe I can add a little bit more. So I've got my wavy lines. And if we jump down to the blanket, I wanted to have a few different types of patterns and line. So I had to divide the blanket up. So I did that by drawing lines, parallel lines, so they're all going in the same direction. And I used one section to start making like triangles. So they make kind of a triangle shape when I do, this is like a zigzag line. Different types of lines. So there's a zigzag line. And I'm going to repeat that down here. So I'm going to do another zigzag line. Okay. And then one of my other favorite types of lines is actually to draw little circles. So I love polka dots. I think they are a really cute way to decorate. And add little polka dots to my beach towel. And of course, you can always color them in. I'm going to leave them like they are, but you could always color those in if you want. And then the other thing is if we want to make our beach look like sand, you can just do little dots. So if you do a bunch of little dots and you just put them wherever in our little mountain of sand, it'll kind of look like you've got sand. If you keep going, those little dots. And they're not thick, right? They're tiny. Kind of another type, nice and small. Versus where this, right, that's really big, right? So this is nice and small. Okay, so that's kind of my beach area. I've got my polka dots. And the only other thing I was putting was on my waves. I wanted to add a couple lines in here just to look like the ocean's rolling. So I'm gonna just do a couple of these little lines. Let's see if I'm missing any other details on here. I think the only thing that's different is that if you look, I colored one of my dots. And on this picture, I didn't color one of my dots. So, which is fine. You can always, go through and color them or shade them in with your pencil or your marker, depending on what colors you've used. So that's why it's nice at drawings. You don't have to always have them the same. You can change them up, right? But these are just different types of lines that we learned to use today. Well, all these additional details